So, yes, a very good morning to all the dignitaries and delegates of today's webinar. I, Tarali Sharma, on behalf of Indian Chamber of Commerce, would like to welcome you all to this webinar on Consumer Protection Act. Indian Chamber of Commerce, in association with Amway India Enterprises Private Limited, have been organizing a series of webinars for all the states of Eastern and Northeastern region with an objective to create awareness on the revised guidelines of Consumer Protection Act. In order to explore the need and importance of regulatory framework and how this Consumer Protection Act 2020 guidelines will protect the interest of consumers, we have already organized a series of webinars for the states like Assam, Tripura, Arunachal Pradesh, and today we are going to conduct the same for another vibrant state of the eastern region, that is Orissa. So for this, I would like to welcome all our esteemed speakers of today's program. I would like to welcome the chief guest of today's program. We are honored to have Honorable Minister, Food Supplies and Consumer Welfare Department, Government of Orissa, Sri Ranendra Pratap Swain. So a very good morning, sir. Namaskar and welcome to the webinar on Consumer Protection Act. I would like to welcome Ms. Nidhi Khare, IS Additional Secretary, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India, who is joining us as the guest of honors for today's program. Namaskar, ma'am. Welcome to the webinar. We would like to welcome Honorable Justice Dr. D.P. Chaudhary, President, Orissa State Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission. So very good morning, sir, and welcome to the webinar. Would like to welcome Professor Bejan Kumar Mishra, International Consumer Policy Expert and Advisor to Government of Orissa Consumer Welfare and Honorary Professor at the National Law University, Orissa. Very good morning, sir, and welcome to the webinar. I would like to welcome Mr. Rajat Banerjee, Vice President Corporate Affairs, Amway India Enterprises Private Limited, and the Vice Chairman of Indian Direct Selling Association. Very good morning, sir, and welcome to the webinar. Last but not the least, I would like to welcome Mr. Chetan Bharadwaj. He is the General Manager, Indian Direct Selling Association. Very good morning, sir, and welcome to the webinar. We got the intimation from Mr. Jyoti Kumar Lakra, Additional Secretary, Food Supplies and Consumer Welfare Department. He was supposed to join, but unfortunately, due to some health challenges, he could not join today. So with all your due permission, we would like to start today's program. So without any further delay, I would like to request the Regional Director of Indian Chamber of Commerce Northeast Region, Mr. Ishanta Sabha Pandit, to kindly share the welcome address. Over to Mr. Ishanta Sabha Pandit.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tarali. At the outset, I would like to welcome all the dignitaries present here today, especially Sri Ranendra Pratap Swain, Honorable Minister of Food Supplies and Consumer Welfare Department, Government of Orissa. I would also like to welcome Mrs. Nidhi Khare, Additional Secretary, Minister of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India. I would also like to welcome Justice Dr. D.P. Chaudhary, President, Orissa State Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, then Professor Bejan Kumar Mishra, Chetan Bharadwaj, Mr. Rajat Banerjee. Without taking much of time, because I think a couple of the speakers need to be wordy, I just want to harp on one thing, that this is something which is very important in this scenario, especially where we all know that consumer protection and awareness about consumer protection is something which is the need of the hour. So we have got a very good act in place now. So if you really want to get rid or know our rights in terms of the fraudulency that's been happening in and around, in terms of products or in terms of in all aspects, starting from product categories to consumer durables to any maybe banking system also. So it's very important that we know our rights, we know what the Act says, and how can we really protect the interest of the people of our country. So with this, I once again welcome everyone, and I'm sure that this initiative in association with Amway will really go a long way, which will really help not only in the development of the country, but also making an extensive awareness among the people of the country. So thank you very much. Over to Tarali.
Thank you, Mr. Ishanta Sabha Pandit, for sharing the welcome address. Now I'd like to request Mr. Rajat Banerjee, Vice President Corporate Affairs MBA in the Enterprises Private Limited and the Vice Chairman of Indian Direct Selling Association to kindly present the keynote address. Over to Mr. Rajat Banerjee.
Thank you, Tarali. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And I'd like to extend a special thanks and greeting to Minister Ranendra Pratap Swain. Thank you for joining us, sir. Nidhi Khare ma'am, we've had this interaction several times, and it's always nice to see you connected with this industry and taking out your time. Thank you so much. Dr. D.P. Chaudhary, we have not had the pleasure of meeting as yet, but I'm so honored that you're with us today, sir. And Bijon Mishra, sir, of course, we've been working very closely with for many, many years. It's always an honor to share dais with you. And of course, my good friend, Chetan Bharadwaj of the Indian Direct Selling Association. Well, I always take this opportunity to share with my fellow panelists a bit of detail of what exactly we are as an industry, because very often we are not the best understood industry. So while I leave the industry data to Chetan, who will speak shortly after me on the industry per se, and no one better than Mr. Bijon Mishra to talk about consumer rights as far as any industry is concerned. I'll take this opportunity just to give a bit of a brief and background, which could be a repetition to some, so my apologies, but nevertheless, here goes. So direct selling is an industry that has taken root in India and has been in India for the last 25 years plus. And today, I mean, the latest survey that was released just last month indicates that today there are 70 lakh individuals in India who are associated with this industry for their livelihood. So in terms of numbers, it is a strong it's a strong livelihood provider to the Indian masses as such. And if we keep into account that roughly 50%, actually this year the number has come down to 49% of direct sellers are women. Nevertheless, that means around 34 to 35 lakh women are engaged in this particular industry. Now, if I were to share with you all that if one direct seller services 10 consumers, then my simple mathematics would tell me that these 70 lakh or 7 million direct sellers are touching 70 million consumers. That is a large number. And you know, we are, I think, quite proud of this particular fact, because we have been told by the various management gurus that the Indian middle class is around 250 million people. Now, if this industry is touching 70 million consumers, I am guessing that we touch about 25% of India's middle class. So clearly, this is an industry that has not just taken root in India 25 years plus, but it provides livelihoods to a lot of people, 70 lakh Indians. It's touching potentially 70 million consumers. So clearly, you know, we are very much a part of the socio-economic landscape in the Indian context. So at the cost of sounding a bit like a school teacher, what exactly is direct selling? Now, if you ask me, direct selling is probably one of the oldest forms of trade, because most of us who grew up in small town India will remember the vendors who came to our house on cycles and sold vegetables, etc. That was also direct selling. The only difference right now is that today this is a corporatized industry. There are big companies involved, multinational companies involved. In fact, I'm sure Chetan will outline, out of the 18 member companies in IDSA, a great majority would be from overseas. So these could be companies from the US, from Sweden, and different parts of the world. Indian companies for sure, certainly. In fact, Nidhi Khare ma'am would be probably familiar with these figures, that after the direct selling guidelines were notified by the center in 2016, more than 600 companies had sent in their paperwork to the Ministry of Consumer Affairs to be put up on their website. So while we consider 18-20 big companies to be part of IDSA and another 30-40 companies part of other associations, the truth is there are about 500 small companies out there across the country which are in this space, and which is why I think the Consumer Protection Act 2019 is very critical, and we are totally in support, and we are grateful to the government for this new law. We are working very closely when I say we, I mean IDSA. We are working very closely with Nidhi Khare ma'am's team on the draft rules for direct selling. There have been several rounds of discussions, and we understand that matters are progressing reasonably well on that. So I'll not delve too much into that element, other than stating the fact that yes, the Consumer Protection Act, given the fact that we are probably touching 70 million consumers, has come at absolutely the right time. It not just protects the consumers and their rights, which I'm sure Bijon sir will elaborate as we go along, but it also gives the businesses, the ethical businesses, a kind of house where we are recognized, which is the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, and we remain eternally grateful to the government for that. If I again take a couple of steps back, on a larger scale, this industry is a global one, and I think it is pegged at around close to $190 billion. Now, if we consider the fact that in India we are barely a $3 billion industry, there is a lot of headspace, and I suspect the direct selling rules under Consumer Protection Act will give a lot of impetus, a lot of clarity to this particular industry. So globally, $190 billion industry compared to $3 billion in India. Globally, this touches about 120 million persons. So again, it's a very strong livelihoods provider globally. Globally, I think close to 75%, if not more, Chetan can correct me as we go along, more than 75% of people involved in this industry are women. And of course, I've given you the figures of India. And what do these companies sell? What do we deal in? We deal in daily products, daily use products, soaps, detergents, cosmetics, dietary supplements, food supplements. So typically, who is a direct seller? Direct seller could be your friend, your neighbor, your relative. So instead of a consumer going to a shop to buy products or ordering it online, their direct seller, their neighbor, supplies them their products. The direct seller earns a little bit of commission. So instead of a direct selling company paying commissions to the stockist, super stockist, wholesaler, retailer, that entire chain, which could be, the commissions out there could range between 25 to 30, 40%. Those commissions are paid to individuals who are selling the products. And just to give you a rough, again, figure that if this is a 17,000 crore industry, roughly 30 to 40% of that value is actually commission going to private individuals. So again, I just thought I'll give you the context of this industry and how we matter, how we are part of the socioeconomic landscape. With the direct selling guidelines of 2016 coming, there was an impetus to this industry. Chetan will, I'm sure, touch upon it when he speaks, where the industry did grow reasonably strongly after 2016-17. And as an industry, we certainly, are part of the effort to ensure that consumer rights are protected. We, as an industry, ensure that, in fact, most IDSA companies have a money back policy. At least AME certainly does, where if a consumer uses a product, opens a seal, doesn't like the product, he or she may return the product and get 100% money back without any questions asked. Of course, within a reasonable period of time. Other industries are following suit as well right now. So what I'm trying to explain out here is that since this is a high touch industry, high touch in terms of consumers, in terms of products, etc., we have to ensure that the consumer believes in us and our direct seller, because like I said, the direct seller is the consumer's neighbor, friend, or relative. We don't want to spoil relationships. Rather, this industry helps in the human connect as such. So yes, we certainly, with that, I think I'll end out here and say this much, that I really look forward to the comments of Minister Swain and the Kharya ma'am, of course, DP Chaudhary Saab, as well as Bijon Mishra and Chetan Bharadwaj. So with that, I'll hand over back to you, Tarali. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Rajat Banerjee, for presenting the keynote address of today's program. Now, I would like to request the chief guest of today's program. We are honored to have you, sir, Honorable Minister of Food Supplies and Consumer Welfare Department, Government of Odisha, Sri Ranendra Pratap Swain. So I would like to request Minister, sir, to kindly share your valuable inputs. Over to you, sir. I would like to request Honorable Minister. Yeah, you have unmuted.
Now, am I audible to everybody?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Now, namaskar to every one of you.
Namaskar.
Justice DP Chaudhary Sir, Odisha State Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission, Madam Nidhi Khare, IAS Additional Secretary, Ministry of Consumer Affairs and Food and Public Distribution, Government of India, Professor Bijon Mishra, of all the persons in this world, I love him, Advisor to the Government of Odisha and Consumer Protection, and Mr. Rajat Banerjee, Vice President of the Corporate Affairs, Amway India Enterprises, Mr. Chetan Bharadwaj, General Manager, Indian Direct Selling Association, and other dignitaries and people, those who are present here, around 31 participants, including people, those who are chatting. So, other dignitaries and participants present in this very important webinar. Right at the outset, Rajat has done this selling, direct selling. You have done it on the ICC platform. Good enough. But at the outset, I must sincerely thank Indian Chamber of Commerce for organizing this important conversation on the protection of interest of the consumer, especially for the people of Odisha, because you have had other webinars for all Eastern states. I am given to understand from your earlier announcements. There cannot be a better timing than this, because since it came into force in July 20th last year, there is complete partial lockdown in various parts of the country as well as in our state. And the result of the current ongoing pandemic, the markets have started to open. Slowly but steadily it is opening. But at least for now, we are hoping for the best. Let the third wave not come. More and more consumers are flocking to the marketplace. It is observed across the country, in our state also. And there is a growing risk that some of them might be duped by the inferior quality of goods and services. Now, in what scenario we are conducting this webinar? The scenario is that people are loath to spend. We have divided this country. The pandemic at least has divided this country into India and Bharat. People, those who are in the India in charge, those who are in the Indian subconscious, you will find they are in a position to approach the market and want to buy, and pent-up buying activities are on. But people, those who are in Bharat, they are saving for the future. You will find the index that small savings has gone up. people are consuming less on food and others. They are saving for the future because they feel that the third wave will come and will not be in a position to get any help. Whatever money that will save here will save our lives or will save the lives of our own family members. So we are conducting this webinar in the backdrop of a situation where consumerism buying activities are, for some people in this country, are at the height. And consumers, those who are hoi polloi, those who are common people, they are saving. The two diametrically opposite situation is going on in our society. And no consumer activities can be without appreciating this situation. There is a yawning gap between the rich and the poor. People, industrialists and big business has made a fortune, a bonanza in these 2 years of pandemic. And job loss has gone beyond through the roof. People have lost, 20 million people have lost their jobs. The productivity, manufacture sector and every sector is down below. In such a situation, when the people are going to the market, they run the risk of being duped by inferior quality and services. You make it direct selling or indirect selling, you run the risk. So in such a background, what should be our line of thinking and how to give protection to those people? That is how we have to gear up our department. Now, I'll not go into the details of the history of consumer movement, which was first enunciated by John F. Kennedy way back in 1962. Thereafter, there was so much activity in our country, so many NGOs, so many people. I remember those who used to vie for Consumer Protection Act to be promulgated in our country. And way back in 1986, the first Consumer Protection Act came in our country. And after I'll not go into details, but after a small cosmetic change in the 1990s, if I have correct, Mr. Bijan Misra will correct me. There was cosmetic amendments to the 1986 Act. But a sea change has taken place in 2019 Act, by which we are now being governed. Now, how to go about in such a scenario? So, consumerism, I'll go into this new act, rights of the consumer, that is being protected. This new act clearly defines, be protected against the marketing of goods, products or services which are hazardous to life and property. That is one salient feature of this act. Be informed about the quality, quantity and the potency, purity, standard and price of goods and products of services. This was not there in the Consumer Protection Act earlier. Be assured wherever possible access to a variety of goods, products or services at competitive prices. That is another angle to this new act. Be heard and to be assured that consumers' interest will receive due consideration at appropriate fora. The fifth is seek redressal against the unfair trade practices or restrictive trade practices or unscrupulous exploitation of consumers. And last but not the least, consumer awareness, for which we are together here. That is the focused. We will not beat about the bush. Let us be very focused. So we'll find that a new dispensation which has come into is CCPA, establishment of Central Consumer Protection Authority. I need not dilate upon this subject, but I must say that this is the overarching structure, infrastructure, you must say, for going among the people. Now, how best we can serve the common man, that is to be seen. The concept of product liability, it has been newly introduced and defined as the responsibility of the product manufacturer or product seller, direct seller or indirect seller, whoever may be, or of any product or service to compensate for any harm caused to a consumer due to defective product manufactured, sold, or a deficiency in services relating thereto. This should be at the back of our mind while creating a new law or enunciating new laws or rules to be tabled before the parliament. This will be discussed by everyone who is a consumer. And there was the new technology has driven, everything live, the artificial intelligence, other things, blah, blah, that has come. But we are going to introduce through this act, e-commerce and electronic service provider. This was not there before in the 1986 Act. So with the time striding along, the Act has inserted definition of e-commerce, which means buying or selling of goods or services, including digital products over digital or electronic network. You know what sort of scams are going on through these portals and other things. How the common man who is living in the villages or in the places, he is too much oblivious. He is oblivious of who is ruling in Delhi or who is ruling in Bhubaneswar. He is with his own small and plain living. So all these things are anathema for them. So people are duped that way, very much. Section 94 of this Act refers to the prevention of unfair trade practices in e-commerce and direct selling, and also deals with protection of interest and rights of consumers. Inclusion of the concept relating to e-commerce along with the prescribed liabilities has broadened the scope of this Act. Now it has broadened, but how we are in a position to touch the people, those who are coming within the ambit, that has to be seen. How we'll be geared up to touch them, that is to be looked into. By including e-commerce within its purview, the Act seeks to protect the rights of the e-consumers and also enables them to proceed against the e-commerce websites in the event of any infringement or violation. A lot of violations are going on. Every other day you see in the paper how things are being coming into it. Not only in our country, it is across the globe, in third world countries and other places, how things are going on. Now the other salient feature which has attracted my attention is the strict penalties for false and misleading advertisements. Big celebrities, they are every day bulging out of the celluloid version. They are every day on the TV sponsoring products. I don't think those products are as well as they are being advertised for. So the Act is a deterrent now. The Act has defined the term misleading advertisement in relation to any product or service as an advertisement which falsely describes the product or service, which gives a false guarantee and is likely to mislead the consumer as to the nature of substance, quantity or quality of such product or service, and conveys an express or implied representation which, if made by the manufacturer or seller or service provider, would constitute an unfair trade practice and shall also include information which is concealed deliberately. Coronil, do you remember? WHO banned it the next day. Then you have spurious vaccines now replete in our markets. So the penalties for false and misleading advertisements are discussed under offences and penalties. I think somebody will throw light on this because we have to be more stricter in the rules. We have to frame that whoever he may be, he might be a Siamese king or he might be anybody under the sun, should not take the common man for granted. His health is as much a concern for us, for anybody else. Now the mediation chapter. This is a new chapter, which is good. I think it is with good belief it has been done. The Act has introduced a new chapter, mediation, as an alternate dispute resolution mechanism. In order to resolve the consumer dispute faster with having approach of commissions, the dispute can be resolved either in whole or in parts. That is the thing. You can mediate outside. Somebody can be a go-between who can put all these people and solve. No more hassles. This is one of the new things which is introduced. How to go about it, it is very much. Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, CDRC. The Act provides for setting up the CDRC, which shall be set up at the district, state, and national level commissions. Empowered to resolve complaints with respect to unfair, restrictive trade practices, defective goods and services, and it all about which our Honorable Justice D.P. Chaudhary might throw light upon. Two very significant consumer-friendly changes that have introduced is that now consumers can e-file complaint sitting in the comfort of their homes. Like we are sitting now in the comfort of our own cozy atmosphere. We can directly place it. And second of all, we can also file from our residences and places instead of where the seller's office is located. So this is loaded in favor of the consumer. This is a good thing. And thereafter you'll see that I need not dilate upon the Consumer Protection Act of 1986. The other speakers are there. Those who can speak about the shift from the Consumer Protection Act of 1986 to 2019 regarding the regulator, the consumer code, the product liability, pecuniary jurisdiction, e-commerce, mediation sales, and all these. These are the salient features which have come. But as far as Odisha is concerned, Consumers Affairs Department has become very proactive with the direction of our Honorable Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik, who speaks less but means more. So he has been guiding light for us, for our department. He has been harping on this subject time and again. And with the aid and advice of our Mr. Bijan Mishra, we are striding ahead. But you know, Odisha is one of the first states in the country which has established the State Institute of Consumer Awareness, which is a full-time body to undertake activities to create awareness through the number of IEC activities. We are trying to rope in experts and young blood to make it more active and bring in innovation. Mr. Misra, I would like to tell that people, those who are having a missionary zeal to serve the people, kindly find out such people, those will be driving force in such institute. Otherwise, these institutes will become a millstone around my neck. It should not become a refuge for certain people, those white-collar activists, those who are for themselves. I stand for nothing, vote for me. That way, so many candidates come up in an election. I don't want people to be like that. You please advise us and make such people in that institute, those who can palpably be optically available and who should be also dedicated. So that whatever advice they will give, government is going to take it on this stride. More than we have done, more than 500 school consumer clubs, district facilities to address the grievance of the consumers, the NGOs. We have to go ahead more and more and more. Our department has to take that stand. Your advice will be taken care of, sir. We are coordinating with BIS to ensure only quality products as earmarked by BIS are sold in the market. The case in point is that in 9 districts of the state, Only hallmark gold are being sold as per the notification of the government. Here I want to bring it to the notice of Madam Khare. She is the driving force in the government of India. There is a mismatch between the state governments and the central government. The BIS doesn't have wherewithal to implement its mandate. They are not in a position to implement their mandate. The hallmarking is done. But who is going to give the checks and balances? Anybody coming from the village wants to give his daughter in marriage, he comes up. So somebody, some sort of mechanism, palpably, optically, and that sort of activities should be done by the BIS. That is a huge fraud is going on, not only in our state, but in all the places. There is no mechanism, no rules and regulations yet involved for the enforcement of your mandate. You are doing hallmarking, that is well and good. But how do you enforce the same? That has to be thought about the government of India, and that should be a understanding between the state governments. What will be the state governments to make enforcement like we are doing in the legal methodology, but our hands are tied. We are getting every other day some news item comes up. So you have to have this matter of BIS hallmarking across the board. We have taken 200 districts by now. That is my information. I may be wrong. Please correct me wherever you can. But one has to look into this. And for food and food products, we are collaborating with Food Safety Department of Health and Family Welfare in our state. The Honorable Chief Minister has given a direction to work in tandem. So to undertake inspection and take strictest possible actions against food adulteration. Every other day you find that they can produce anything and everything. Make in India has become fake in India in the entire country. You have such products, identical products, they can duplicate everything. That industry, that second industry is also going on. What are the enforcement? What are the legal things we have to do? Like in our Odisha, we have done the 5T initiative. It is not a department, but we go hammer and tongue against anybody who is doing nuisance in any part of the state. But there should be a mechanism that way. I always say that India has no dearth of laws, rules, and other things, madam. But my concern is implementation and practical ability. That has to be taken into the people, those are in the states and other things that has to be. And firstly, despite being the largest group, the world consumer or consumerism does not find a mention in the in our constitution. Might be the framers of the constitution, the people, those who are at the helm of affairs during the freedom struggle, consumerism did not touch their mind. But we can bring the word consumer should be enunciated, and somehow or the other we must put it into the some act of parliament, so that you have a force of the parliament, force of the constitution, and that will give an impetus, a jack to the entire movement in the country. Because you will find that there are so many, you do not have the constitutional backing. This has to be also thought of by the government of India. Secondly, how to bring the consumers who are duped by small ticket buyers. I am concerned about, I belong to a rural constituency of goods and services by the small ticket buyers in the hinterland. More often than not, these small buyers, especially in rural areas, might take the loss in their strides. Might be through direct selling or indirect selling, rather than to indulge in redressing through usage of this act. How they are little to bother, they are oblivious. Bhai thakai ho gaya, thagai ho gaya, chodo bhai kon court ko jata hai. Such kind of people, their number is huge, huge, huge. Not 70 million. They are huge. They are the bulk of this country. They are the sampati, they are the human resource of this country. We can't see that they are helpless. So we have to find a way out how the grievances of the small ticket buyers, especially those who involved in transaction between 500 to 1,000 rupees, can be addressed quickly and without hassles. While framing the laws of this country, the rules of this country, we must take the talisman of Gandhiji, the lowest man in the rung. Think of him, the man who is the poorest of the poor, and frame the law. You can give justice to them. And thirdly, how to deal with the online frauds. Every day you find in our papers online frauds, especially those duping the unsuspecting people through fraudulent means. They are not legal entity and mostly fly-by-night operators. This act deals with legal or registered bodies, doesn't deal with such kind of people. So these type of frauds are out of the scope of the Consumer Protection Act 2019. That is my gut feeling. I do not, I may be correct or incorrect. These are criminal cases, but involves cheating of a person as a consumer. How to address this gray area? Are there any provisions in this act, or we have to incorporate the same? I'm not very sure about it. But I was sanguine about it by reading the daily paper that somebody has sold land to so many persons, has gone away, somebody has done a cheat fund, has gone away scot-free. There is no law to bind them, no law to do away with them. India is an over-legislative but less implementing country. That is my gut feeling. Now to conclude, I don't like to be more elaborating, but to conclude, this act is a welcome change in favor of the constitutional consumers. It provides them with clearly defined rights and dispute resolution process, which may enable them to resolve their grievances on a fast-track basis. But this is the man behind the machine. If the man is drunk, if your driver is drunk, he goes for an accident. And if he has a head over his shoulders, he will take you to your destination safely. So we have to lead the consumers of this country. Every one of us are a consumer. So for that, in that background, I thank the Indian Chamber of Commerce once again for bringing to the fore the issues of the consumer rights. I'm looking forward to a very productive and meaningful discussion ahead. I would request you, Madam, I'm looking forward for a summary of any recommendations which are doable for the protection of consumers in my state. We'll surely look into these recommendations with all seriousness. Mr. Bijan Misra has been the leading light for us. I would like that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 focused, not beating about the bush. Do this, do's and don'ts. You give me those do's and don'ts, we'll go by it, because my Honorable Chief Minister is very much sanguine about it. He's committed to the cause of the poorest of the poor people, and he applies the talisman of Gandhiji in every sphere, in every walk of his life. So that is the thing, keeping that thing in background, keeping the COVID scenario in background, keeping the economic scenario in background, keeping the unemployment scenario in background, keeping the yawning gap between the richest and the poor, the India and Bharat. That dichotomy should be back of our mind. That way we can evolve a better ecosystem for the poorest of the poor people. I would like to be enlightened, like to be given some points to work on it. With these words, I thank everybody, those who are participating. I'm looking forward to a productive suggestion from you for our state. Thank you all. Namaskar, namaskar. Bande Utkal Janani.
Thank you, sir. I would like to thank Honorable Minister of Food Supplies and Consumer Welfare Department, Government of Odisha, Sri Ranendra Pratap Swain, for enlightening us with your valuable inputs. And we are really grateful to you. In spite of having your own busy schedule, you have managed to join us. On behalf of Indian Chamber of Commerce, we would like to thank you once again, sir. Now I'd like to request Madam Nidhi Khare, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India, to kindly address me. Over to Madam Nidhi Khare.
Madam, before that, I ask everybody to excuse me because I have a meeting of the group of ministers in my area at 12:30. So I'll have to rush to Bhubaneswar. But all the best wishes with a namaskar. With a namaskar, I want some suggestions to be implemented in our state. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
Your speech was very nice, and I think it covered everything, sir. I'm really grateful that you have such a great understanding of Consumer Protection Act, and you are also willing to take up some steps which should actually eventually empower our consumers. And I think we have really benefited out of your speech. And while you may be away, I'm sure your advisor, Mr. Bijon Mishra, will take down the things that we really want to do apart from, say, legislating, making policies, also on coming hard on the enforcement issues also. So thank you very much, sir. So with the permission of everyone, let me begin, my address on the CPA Act. Although after Honorable Minister, Food and Civil Supplies, Odisha government has already made a very comprehensive opening statement. I also welcome Bijon Mishra, who's well known in this field. Mr. Rajat Banerjee, whom I already know. Mr. Chetan Bharadwaj, Honorable Justice, who's present here. We will all be very, I'm sure, benefiting from everyone's views on consumer protection sector. I will start because one of the important points for discussion has been the new regulatory authority in the form of Central Consumer Protection Authority. And since I'm as additional charge, I'm also its Chief Commissioner. We would like to just also show to you through a small PowerPoint presentation. It will also lead us to, I hope this is getting shared.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Yes, we can see it.
It's visible, ma'am. It's visible.
So while when we talk about this new Consumer Protection Act 2019, it took almost 3 decades from 1986 to actually have this act which was amended. And this got notified in 2019, but got implemented with effect from 20th July 2020. Now, 11 rules and regulations have already been included in CPA Act, and this has been done within 6 months of passing this act. Most importantly, the rules of e-commerce mediation rules have all been in place. Some of the important salient features are it provides for mediation, which was not earlier available. It also introduces the concept of product liability, wherein it is also bringing under its scope product manufacturer, product service provider, product seller, and also it deals with any claim for compensation. It also has rules for prevention of unfair trade practices in e-commerce, and I'm sure everyone would be knowing we are in the process of amending further e-commerce rules, and a lot of stakeholder consultation has already been done. Even the direct selling rules have also been prepared, and the stakeholder consultation has been done. The suggestions and the comments which have come from various sectors are under examination. We have also tried to simplify the adjudication process in the Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission, by saying that a consumer can file complaints electronically. So they do not have to physically queue up at the consumer dispute redressal commissions. They can do it in the comfort of their house or in the comfort of their home, their factories or their workplace. We have also ensured that filing of these complaints in consumer commissions that have jurisdiction over the place of his residence or work, this has been such a respite to the consumers. Also facility for video conferencing for hearing. We have also reduced the period for the admission of complaints which have been filed. So if the complaints are not say decided within a specified period of 21 years, then it will be deemed to be admitted. The consumer can also approach in person or through an agent or lawyer. We have also, under the simplification only, we have also tried to see that no fees is charged for a case which is filed for up to 5 lakh, say, denomination. The state and district commissions can review their own orders. Small typographical errors they can amend. Order passed by consumer commissions to be enforced in the same manner as it were a decree made by a court in a suit. And the complaint to be disposed within 3 months or within 5 months if testing of the product is required. Now, one of the salient features is also for the setting up of Central Consumer Protection Authority. So CCPA can impose a penalty for false or misleading advertisement, and this under this, the manufacturer or the endorser, the publisher, everybody can be booked a penalty of up to 10 lakh rupees, or for any subsequent contravention, a penalty of up to 50 lakh rupees has been provided for. For a publisher, a penalty may extend up to 10 lakhs. For failure to comply with the order of district commission, state commission, or the national commission, there will be imprisonment for a term not less than 1 month, which may extend to 3 years, or fine not less than 25,000 rupees, which may extend up to 1 lakh rupees, or both. For failure to comply with the directions of CCPA, there will be imprisonment for a term which may extend to 6 months, or with fine which may extend to 20 lakh rupees, or both. Penalty by competent court for manufacture or sale of adulterated or spurious goods has also been provided. Now, in this slide, we can see how the grievance redressal mechanism works. As Honorable Minister was also saying, how does a consumer deal with, any dissatisfactory, say sale of goods or services. Now, this slide basically shows what are the ways in which the consumer can approach to redress his grievance. In the very first step, he has to look for the consumer grievance at the say the seller, the trader, or the manufacturer, which means this is a pre-litigation stage. Before coming to any litigation, he can directly make a call to the consumer, say, grievance redressal cell, which has to be there, and as per the legal metrology packaged commodity rules also, has to be mandatorily declared on each product. If he is not satisfied, he can lodge a complaint at the National Consumer Helpline, NCH, which provides for a toll-free number like 14404 or 1800 11 4000. This is the toll-free number. Can also SMS, can also register online on the website, or if they are rural folks who do not own any, say, electronic device, they can also approach common service centers, which charges a very nominal fee, and get their complaints at least filed. They can also do it through different apps, NCH, Umang, or Consumer app. So these are several opportunities in which a consumer can approach a National Consumer Helpline for getting a pre-litigation level help in redressing its grievance. Now, under the Central Consumer Protection Authority, we are in a suo motu fashion. We are studying, examining, and analyzing the complaints that we receive, particularly those which are repeated in nature and which are basically of the same kind. So Consumer Protection Act, since it takes class action, we are able to take class action in matters of violation of consumer rights, false or misleading advertisement, or unfair trade practice. Finally, if the consumer feels that apart from redressing his grievance, he also needs to be compensated, then he can approach this three-tier quasi-judicial machinery, starting from the district commission, which are at all the districts, state commission, or the national commission. We are from the department side trying to strengthen consumer commissions by giving them grants, both for building and non-building issues. So far, we have been able to have construction completed of 609 consumer commissions, which are basically 573 district commissions and 36 state commission buildings. There's also renovation, installation of CCTV and audio recording mechanism in 14 state commissions. And for non-building assets, grants have been provided to 566 consumer commissions. For construction of mediation cells, some 33 mediation cells have been constructed so far in the states. The funds have been released after receipt of utilization certificates and PFMS onboarding. So PFMS onboarding is something which I would request Government of Odisha also to ensure that they are onboarded and they are able to provide their latest UC so that they can also avail of further grants. So these are some of the district commissions which I would like to show how the president room, member room in Manipur, then in Tawang, how in a remote district of Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh, how it is working. In another district of Arunachal Pradesh, which is called Lower Subansiri 0. So it is here. Then there is Mamit District Commission in Mizoram, Ribhoi in Meghalaya. Again in Dantewada, Gadchiroli, Kangra, Pune in Himachal Pradesh, Idukki in Kerala, and Madhepur in Bihar. So we are also now trying to set up mediation cells, and through the mediation, what we have done is the mediation rules have been notified. National Commission has adopted it, and they are already in the process of issuing an advertisement for a panel of mediators. So very soon we will have a panel of mediators at the National Commission, and we will start resolving cases through mediation. 5 states, which are Haryana, Andhra Pradesh, Chandigarh, Punjab, and Telangana, they have also issued notifications for setting up a mediation cell. I would request Odisha government to take note of this, and maybe you can start at least with the notification of mediation rules, and also start a process of preparing a panel of mediators. Now, in the meantime, you are all aware, we already have mediators at the state level. You can, to begin with, maybe with, say, a 3-day sensitization about CP Act, these mediators can easily be, say, initiated, and they can be empaneled to begin with, and work of mediation can start, so that such cases which are, say, pending for more than 2 years in Odisha, they can be resolved through mediation immediately if both the parties agree, that is. Now, Delhi is already utilizing the services of mediators which were deputed by by Delhi Disputes Resolution Authority Society. And in 6 states, which are Rajasthan, Karnataka, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, West Bengal, and Bihar, it is in a very advanced stage. 70 district commissions have already set up mediation cells, and the training module of mediation has been developed, and training has been organized through IIPA. Now we come to the next step. How are we facilitating the consumers to file their complaints in a far easier, in a far inexpensive, hassle-free process? So e-filing was launched in the National Commission last year on 7th September, followed by Delhi State Commission. Thereafter, Maharashtra took up, and now we have 20 states who have integrated e-Dakhil portal onto them. And from 4th of August this year, we have also integrated e-Dakhil portal with the service provider centers. So this is also going to further escalate the reach of e-filing process in our country. This is the e-Dakhil coverage, and as you can see on the map, on the green dots, these are the green dots which show how these states or UTs have already started receiving complaints through e-filing, through the e-Dakhil method. Now imagine Andaman and Nicobar has also been able to do it, and Odisha is also has also adopted this. Now we can see that a total of 489 district commissions, state commissions, and national commissions in all are using at present the e-Dakhil system. And you will be very, very surprised and astonished to know that about 22,000 people have already registered themselves on this e-Dakhil. Cases which have been registered are more than 10,000. So this is a very, very huge achievement for the consumer movement. Now, I will give you small examples of how and from where e-filing of such cases are coming up. Now, Lakhisarai, a small district in Bihar, somebody has filed its case of rupees 339 against Amazon. Sitamarhi, again a very small and far-flung district, against 136 rupees from Shiv Shakti Automobiles. Mau in for rupees 2000. Mainpuri mein somebody has actually filed for 1 lakh against a seller. In Andaman and Nicobar Islands, a case has been filed on e-filing for an amount of 36,900 against a shopping mall. In Odisha, Raigada, somebody has filed a case for rupees 160 against a seller. Similarly, you can see how in Jharkhand, Latehar and Godda, they have filed, some consumer has filed a case against Whirlpool, another against Amazon. So this is just to give an idea how people from the remotest corners of a country are availing this facility, which is going to give them a lot of strength and power in achieving and realizing their rights. Now, National Consumer Helpline, we already have, I'm sure this needs no mention because we all know how we are operating. There are 60 help desks and the 6 zonal helplines also for regional language support. And there is more than 600 companies which are in convergence. We are able to handle about 60,000 grievances per month at present. Some of the top sectors where grievances are rising is the e-commerce, as Honorable Minister had also mentioned. that if we see over a period of say 3 years data, I can easily say that e-commerce has been the top sector for all these 3 years. And the percentage of Grievance is only growing from 20%. It started in 2018 and it has reached up to 35%. So this is like last year. This year it has crossed 36%. So this shows that these are the top sectors where we will be in the consumer commissions also getting a lot of complaints. This is basically how consumer helplines are also receiving. Now, as we see, what is whether the consumer helpline has been of any help to the consumer or not. So I will only say to everyone, please visit our website. You will be getting, on a site, what we've started is on our website, we are giving all successful cases that had been resolved on NCH. And you'll see how beautiful people have been able to resolve these cases within 60 days. And there are cases of refund, there are cases of replacement, there are cases of maintenance, there are cases where the consumer was not able to different sectors, not just consumer durables. Service sectors, for example, non-refund of 11,000 rupees from an airline company of a cancelled ticket. Now this has been resolved from Kota. Another from Dimapur, non-refund of 3,000 rupees from an airline company. Similarly, a washing machine for its defective service post-warranty. So these are the cases, just a bunch of cases which were successfully resolved. For more, you can please visit our website where we are giving a real-time, cases which are being resolved every single day. We come to Central Consumer Protection Authority, which regulates matter, as we've already seen, for violation of rights of consumers, unfair trade practices, false or misleading advertisements. And we have been so far able to issue, say, about 52 notices, and for about 27 for misleading advertisement and for 25 for unfair trade practices. And subsequent to these notices, 6 companies withdrew advertisement, which were claiming, efficacy of 99% against COVID germs. And a few companies like Kent RO, Asian Paint, Siaram Silk, Lifebuoy, Zodiac, Blue Star, they have withdrawn. 4 companies have agreed for corrective advertisement. For example, Godrej, Green Lamp, Century Ply, Imami, Emasol. And these were the advertisements. Now look how the advertisements were playing. The shirt claiming that this shirt kills 99% of COVID-19 virus. Or Asian Paints saying that if you paint your house with this, it is going to be protecting you against COVID-19. Similarly, there were fabrics which were claiming anti-corona fabric. There were, say, Kent RO's advertisement where it claimed that it disinfects fruits and things like that from COVID-19 virus. These are the advertisements which are withdrawn and issued corrective advertisement. So you can see what was before and what was after. There is also another one. Now, CCPA has also initiated class action on the basis of number of complaints which we have received from different companies. And you can see that because of COVID and because of pandemic lockdown all through, many passengers have actually not got refund. So we have issued notices to all these companies, and we are dealing with them. And many companies have, ever since, they have made their process easier. They have also refunded more number of consumers as and when, I mean, they have been able to receive money from the airlines. So this is something which is kind of work in progress. Initially, we don't want, we want more people to comply. The companies need to comply, and that has been our approach. There is also another, small videos which we have prepared for the sensitization of masses.
और अब एक विशेष सूचना, उपभोक्ता संरक्षण अधिनियम 2019 के तहत केंद्रीय उपभोक्ता संरक्षण प्राधिकरण सीसीपीए का गठन।
अब सीसीपीए उपभोक्ता के अधिकारों के उल्लंघन की जांच करेगी।
असुरक्षित वस्तुओं और सेवाओं को वापस लेने का आदेश दे सकती है।
अनुचित व्यापार को रोकने का आदेश देगी। उत्पाद निर्माता, सर्विस प्रोवाइडर्स और विक्रेताओं पर जुर्माना लगाने का अधिकार होगा।
उपभोक्ता संरक्षण अधिनियम 2019, उपभोक्ता के अधिकार हुए और सशक्त। जागो ग्राहक जागो।
So I think with this, I will come to an end to my address. I can only say for one small thing which Honorable Minister had said about the hallmarking. We have made in the first phase hallmarking mandatory in 256 districts, and this is basically for 3 caratages of gold jewelry. We are also bringing another 3 sets of caratage for gold jewelry and artifacts. I think so far what we have done is we are trying to understand and make it basically facilitate the dwellers to build their trust on the system so that they can get their jewelry hallmarked, and a unique ID number is also generated on them so that there is a traceability for the consumer. There is enough, penal action under the BIS Act, under the hallmarking system, and that is why you must have also read in the newspapers, BIS has been taking very, very hard steps, very, very harsh, penal actions against the AHCs who were creating fake hallmarks. So we are in that process. I think when the entire country comes under this coverage, the consumers will be emboldened because there is now going to be a service where they can get their jewelry checked and they can be wiser. They can also take such people who sold them, jewelry of less purity, claiming it to be of a higher purity, to task. So I think in times to come, we are going to see a rise in cases of which is like against or say fake hallmarking, or say jewelry which is sold below purity that is claimed by the jewelers. So I think we are still in a phase where we are trying to onboard the entire system of hallmarking so that in our country we have one system. We have unique ID numbers on each of the jewelry pieces, and these jewelry pieces can be traced back to where they were originally sold, and so that we can also punish the person who actually made false claims or sold it because of unfair trade practice. So I think with this, I will thank the Indian Chamber of Commerce, who has organized this workshop. And I'm sure the speakers after me will also highlight what is new. We are trying to reach out to the consumers in much greater strength and by greater use of technology. So we are actually, say for example, all these videos, audios that we have prepared, we are also taking it right up to the panchayat level. We are constantly sensitizing people from the panchayats, people, say farmer groups, the SHG women groups, and such other groups which are at the rural level, who are neither aware about the Consumer Protection Act, nor are they aware about the rights, and neither are they aware about where to file their complaints in case they are not satisfied with the purchase of a good or any service. So I think we have come a long way, but we have to go still. We have to make a lot of efforts in this sector so that buying and selling in India becomes a very, very safe, say, it's a safe activity for everybody. And it's also very, very satisfying. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening to me. And I will take all questions if there are any.
Thank you, madam. We would like to thank Madam Nidhi Khare for the detailed presentation on the guidelines of Consumer Protection Act. Now, we would like to request Honorable Justice Dr. G.P. Chaudhary, President of Orissa State Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission, to kindly address this. Thank you.
A very good morning to all of you. Likely in absentia, esteemed Mr. R.P. Swai, Honorable Minister, Food and Supply, Consumer Affairs Orissa, Mrs. Nidhi Khare, Orissa Secretary and Chairperson, Chief Commissioner CCPA, Mr. Professor Vejan Mishra, International Consumer Activist, and the advisor to the State Government Orissa, Mr. Rajat Banerjee, Mr. Chetan, Mr. Ishanto Sobat, the Regional Director of this Indian Chamber of Commerce. Lastly, the Maximum Policy gives Ms. Tarali Sharma. So this is a real very good arrangement has been made by the Indian Chamber of Commerce for the wide awareness of the consumers about the recent development law. But from beginning, I am giving my really I very sorry to give my more time to this because my court is waiting. I have to go to court. So that is why I have requested the organizer to give me only 10 minutes time to give certain concise talk. This first of all, fourth thing, if you go that regulatory authority to CCPA, but Madam Khare was narrating all these things, so much more cannot be said on that. Only one thing that CCPA has got the power of so much taking cognizance of the matters where there is misleading statements, unfair trade practice, and protection of consumer rights. And but whereas the commission, either national commission, state commission, or district commission, have no such power. If the consumer's interest to be taken care of, at least like the CCPA, this commission should be given also so much taking part. On the other day, in another webinar, Mr. Vedan Mishra was also asking the same question. If the central government will think over this, I hope that there will be some sort of better consumer movement and they will have another chance of, because at times cases are being filed by the consumer activists or the you can say the person who is aggrieved because of the reference service or the, you can say, unfair trade practice or unfair contract. But fact remains that if the commission is very much given the power of that to take cognizance matter, definitely from paper cutting or any allegation comes or any notice comes, then that will be, because there are more violations during Corona time. I have seen that in the Odisha, also in other states, there is selling and buying of these consumer articles, which being very much get back by the seller in the godown and are not selling, and if selling higher price, obviously it is unfair trade practice, and that is why at least the people cannot come. This commission can so much take up the matter. CCPA is one authority, but commissions are many. The district commission, state commission, and national commission. CCPA is doing also their wonderful work by showing that. I have seen that slide. But as our honorable minister is speaking, that Consumer Act is meant for the consumers at the grassroots level. And this grassroots level is meant for the poorest of poor. And you know that consumer protection, these rules have been also said that after 5 lakhs, no payment. So at least the matter can be taken up to that. And also so many cognizance matters are we are coming to notice of, but we are not able to take any action because in Corona time many laws are not coming. Many parties are not able to reach the court. Even also some common service center also not able to work. So this is one of the fact, at least the statute amendment is required. Two, that's the state specific alliance and recommendation to find out the solution. One thing that we are talking about the mediation rules. Mediation rule Odisha already published on 2/3/2021. Perhaps it has not been brought to notice of central government. And this mediation rule is there, but the mediation is not able to work because Section 74 of the Act has said that the mediators will be enrolled by the president and the member. And now no member is there in state commission except the president. Most of these district commissions are also not having president and the members. And in that way, the process is going on. You know that recently Supreme Court have also pulled up the states and the center for not taking this proper place, so that, you see, I'm reading one small para from Supreme Court order. The empowerment of the consumers has been a continuing process with the coming into force of the Consumer Protection Act 1986 and its current legislation vision in the Consumer Protection Act 2019. That is the legislative intent. However, the ground reality is quite different, as there is little endeavor to translate this legislative intent into administrative infrastructure with requisite facilities, members and staff of the facilitate the decision of consumer complaints. So when the infrastructure is lacking, it is difficult. It is the observation of the Honorable Supreme Court. And also the Honorable Supreme Court rather is kind enough to at least monitoring the cases so that the posts will fill up. But luckily in the state of Odisha, the selection committee has been already formed. But you know that after the amendment of this act, now the Honorable Chief Justice as the nominee has become has to be chairperson of the selection committee. But earlier, it was president and the 2 members of the state commission was the selection committee. So by virtue of this selection committee change in the rule act itself, definitely hardly I mean to say that hardly Honorable Chief Justice or the nominated judge get time or at least go through this, because a lot of cases are in high courts and also many committees there. So the earlier provision what was there, if at all, it So there it is more facilitate, at least quick decision to be taken for selection of the president and members. It is for the state government, the central government to take a view in this to protect the maybe that some sort of accelerating process, some takes to be taken. Next is about the e-commerce. E-commerce is a wonderful provision made this particular new act, and e-commerce is now really world is living on that, and everywhere there is online shopping. As our honorable minister was also speaking about the fraud, and if there is a case filed by the criminal side, why can't be consumer? Yes, consumer case also can be filed for any sort of unfair trade price, unfair contract, and misleading statements, and also you can say deficient service. But there are so many provisions are made. Only one thing, that it has to be taken care of by proper interpretation of the law. So the consumers of the business organization should at least read the law between two letters, so that it will come out. Next comes about the e-filing. E-filing already started in Odisha, and also it has been started long since. It is going ahead. And this about the mediators, unless appointed, that mediation will not be, but we hope and trust that definitely by the end of this year, our members will come and will go ahead. So far, this progress of state in consumer law concern, our state, our honorable minister was also speaking, that honorable chief minister of Odisha is very much striving hard for at least to promote the consumer movements. And only one thing, that central government what was giving for infrastructure, that should be at least expedited, so that the building, non-building purpose, both purpose can be solved to the no time. And I was expecting some questions you put, but sorry, I'm not able to give my time. Now I have to conclude it with this 10 minutes capsule. So for that, I have to go. I have to rush for the court now to 12 o'clock. Already I have been late. I'm in late. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to the Indian Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, sir. We would like to thank Honorable Justice Dr. D.P. Chaudhary, sir, for sharing your valuable inputs, and also we would like to thank you for managing your valuable time for this webinar. On behalf of Indian Chamber of Commerce, we would like to thank you once again, sir. Now, I would like to request Professor Bijan Kumar Mishra is the International Consumer Policy Expert and the advisor to the Government of Odisha Consumer Protection, and Honorary Professor at the National Law University, Odisha. So Bijan sir has been already associated with us in many of the webinars that we have conducted. So we are very much delighted to have you once again with us. So I would like to request you to kindly address, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you thoroughly for inviting me. And as you very rightly said, we have covered almost many of the states in Northeast. And this is the first state we are covering in the eastern region of the country. So I congratulate you, and I congratulate Ishantar ji for organizing this event along with Amway, which is Rajat, and I have Chetan from IDSA, and also Siddharth and others, like who is the person from Sandeep. Sandeep is also there from. So Honorable Minister, Government of Odisha, Food and Civil Supplies, Consumer Affairs, Shri Narendra Pratap Swain ji, who we fondly call as, Raja Bhai. I also would like to recognize our very dynamic, this is the secretary, deputy assistant secretary in the joint secretary in the, sorry. She's the secretary Secretary to the Government of India, Department of Consumer Affairs, Food and Civil Supplies, Mrs. Nidhi Khare, who is also the chairperson of the Chief Commissioner of the Central Consumer Protection Authority. And I also want to recognize our dynamic, State Commission President, Dr. Chaudhary, who is a retired justice, who is the President of the State Commission, Government of Odisha, and all the participants participating in this webinar. Firstly, I would like to congratulate Madam Nidhi Khare for taking up such an enormous kind of a responsibility, which she has performed at a supersonic speed, in terms of its implementation. And you all have all carefully seen the presentation where she has covered in terms of the achievements she has been able to do at such a short time as the Commissioner of the Central Consumer Protection Authority and Additional Secretary to the Government of India in the Department of Consumer Affairs. So, Madam, congratulations for doing this great work. Keep up this great work. We are always with you, and we will try to understand how we can play a better role in terms of strengthening the work which you are already doing in terms of consumer protection. I would straight away go to some of the recommendations which the Honorable Minister made, and as being fortunate to be the advisor to the Government of Odisha on consumer protection, I would take up, because we are talking about direct selling and the rules, I would say that there's a huge amount of responsibility for Indian Chamber of Commerce and IDSA to ensure that in Odisha, we bring about a very strong mechanism of surveillance. Surveillance in the sense, what I mean is, even before a consumer can complain, we would have caught the culprits. So in direct selling, what we all need to understand is that a few handful people who are undermining the industry and actually giving false informations and misleading the consumers need to be caught and exposed, which is very important. So I would suggest that with the help, as you heard the Honorable Minister saying, the State Institute of Consumer Awareness in Government of Odisha, under the Government of Odisha's aegis. This institute is the only institute in the country which is working in an institutionalized manner to protect the interest of the consumers. So I would like to tell you all that let us collaborate with the institute and make Odisha insulated from any kind of fly-by-night operators who are adopting pyramid scheme or adopting any kind of an unfair trade practice in direct selling to be exposed. So I would request IDSA, Amway and others, along with the Indian Chamber of Commerce, to start this initiative as a pilot project in Odisha and then take it to the other states in terms of its implementation. So I would like that the rules which are being framed, that should actually focus a lot on surveillance mechanism. And this is where I would want that, we would be very happy in Odisha to play that role to ensure that the poorest of the poor, that is the, the bottom of the pyramid, the consumers who need maximum protection, they get protection, and we are able to bring in mechanisms of easy refund, easy exchange of product, redressal of consumer complaints, as much as possible at the cutting edge at the company level. As Madam Khare has shown that more than 400 companies is having convergence with the National Consumer Helpline. Now, if you are having a convergence with the central government, why can't that get replicated in the state level? So SICA can play a very definite role in terms of taking it forward. Then comes the responsibility in terms of how we can link it to employment. Because as you all know, Odisha is fifth in terms of ranking on the growth of direct selling in the country. Now, we want to make Odisha come as the top. Now, how do we do that? In terms of ensuring that a lot of consumers start building faith and trust in direct selling. The only way you can do that is having a good feedback mechanism. And the good feedback mechanism with the users will build the trust, will build that kind of a credibility. And this is where, I would like, people like Rajat and Sandeep and others, like Chetan, to come out with ideas that how we can collaborate at the state level and make Orissa #1 and, beat Maharashtra, learn from Maharashtra. It is not that I'm saying that, we all need to be cutthroat competitor, but we should learn and become better and make India is not even on the top 10 in terms of direct selling in the world. And here we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat. Why is India not able to come in the top 10 of the world in direct selling? What are those rules, regulations? What are those ecosystems we need to improve so that investments come in, consumers adopt direct selling as one of the best mechanism to access good quality products in terms of accessing products which are affordable, which are assuring quality. These kind of mechanisms we need to ensure that we take it forward. So my contention today is Orissa is a fertile land. We can do a lot of work. And as Nidhi Khare ji has expressed, we will make sure, madam, every rupee which you are giving us to the Consumer Welfare Fund, to the state, we utilize it for the purpose it has been given. And we will utilize it. And we will show you that how this fund, which belongs to the Consumer Welfare Fund, can be utilized in an effective and efficient manner. We will take things forward in a manner where the bottom of the pyramid consumers start feeling protected. They feel that they are being not only protected, but they have a respect in the supply chain. They have a role to play. And I always said this, that in order to grow, in order to make the country develop, the consumer and the industry, they are two sides of the same coin. And we always have to understand this, that if the consumer was not alive, where will the industry be alive? Where will the government be? So the consumer is paramount. That's the center stage. And if I don't empower the consumer, I don't give them those kind of opportunities to make an informed choice, then how do you expect industry to grow? How do you expect the regulator to become more efficient and effective? And I want to tell you that only intellectually right kind of complaints should go before the CCPA or go before the judiciary in terms of our adjudication. In fact, the arbitration law, the mediation which is there, the alternative dispute redressal, great opportunity in terms of encouraging youngsters to make it a career. And that's why I'm engaging with academic institutions, so that the youngsters who are coming out of law schools, who are coming out of academic institutions, they are able to make this a career and take it forward. So I am very keen that how do we integrate and let Orissa become the kind of a pilot place where we can take it forward. And as you know thoroughly, when we did these kind of conversations in Northeast, all the states are eager to come forward. All the states are wanting to go forward to take this to its logical end. And only thing now is a very structured, institutionalized approach in terms of promoting direct selling, in terms of promoting options to the consumer to access good, affordable, high quality product made in India. How we can do that, how we can promote that. And we all have ideas. We all have the resources. And Consumer Welfare Fund, I'm sure Madam will agree with me that, when this got formalized, when this fund got formalized, this money which got accumulated, and in fact, now with GST, more and more money is going to come into this, because all that what is government is recovering from the offenders in terms of who were diverting the GST money, which is being recovered, is going to come into the Consumer Welfare Fund as per law. So we must make sure that all the state governments become proactive. And I would like to say that Indian Chamber of Commerce can play this role in becoming the bridge between the state governments the central government, and the industry associations in the interest of the consumer. Consumers' interest is paramount. And we must ensure that we don't allow them to complain, and we only allow them to share their feedback, not in a negative manner, but in a positive manner. And I have always been a firm believer for the last 35 years that these issues are doable. There are global best practices which are there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. The whole mechanisms are there. You see, in 1996, when this department was created, the Department of Consumer Affairs, it had a very clear-cut mandate. And I still remember when we enacted the law, when the government agreed to our proposal of bringing the Consumer Protection Act, the government also subsequently agreed that there has to be an exclusive department to represent the consumer before various policy makers. Consumer Affairs Department is in all the committees, in all the policies in the country. So we should be intellectually be able to intervene in terms of policies. Why should there be a debate after the rules have been formed in terms of e-commerce, or for that matter in direct selling? Why can't we all agree that the rules are formed in a manner that everybody agrees, and it is there's a consensus building, and we make sure that when we take it for notification, there will be no noise created later on. And I want to lastly come, which the Honorable Minister said, in terms of hallmarking of the gold. I want to tell you all that I'm also getting huge number of complaints from various stakeholders on this hallmarking's implementation. So as far as Orissa is concerned, I am visiting, in fact, Bhubaneswar on the 3rd and 4th of this month, next month. What I would like to say is that I would like to study that, how BIS can play a role, what kind of role BIS, SICA, and Government of Orissa can bring in terms of engaging with the central government to ensure that if we bring any regulation, whether it is direct selling, whether it is e-commerce, whether it is a hallmarking which is being made mandatory, there will be overall acceptance by all the stakeholders. How can we build that consensus, which is important? And that can come with conversation. That can come with this kind of consultation which we are having, which Indian Chamber of Commerce is doing. So congratulations once more. Thank you very much. I want to tell you all that, as far as a consumer representative is concerned, I am 24/7. I am available all 365 days. You can reach out to me. And as far as it is to do with consumer protection, everything is last for me after that. Consumer protection is paramount. So please reach out to me. Whatever way I can support, I'll be more than happy to support and give whatever my limited knowledge are in terms of taking things forward. But let me assure you, Orissa government has a great leadership. Our Chief Minister, Shri Naveen Patnaik ji, is known to be a person who encourages good governance. So I can assure you that if you all come with good proposals in the interest of the people of Orissa, in the interest of the poor, in the interest of development, in the interest of making Orissa the #1 destination in direct selling, we are there with you and we will support you. So come out with good proposals which are robust and acceptable and agreed by all. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity once more. I wish you all the best, and all the recommendations, as the Honorable Minister said, let's make a PowerPoint bullet form presentation to him and make a roadmap so that we can all implement in Orissa direct selling and make Orissa not #5, but #1 in direct selling. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We would like to thank Professor Bijan Kumar Mishra for your insightful address and valuable recommendations. As always, thank you once again, sir. Now, I'd like to request Mr. Chetan Bharadwaj, General Manager of Indian Direct Selling Association. Mr. Bharadwaj also had been associated with us in the series of webinars that we have conducted. So we are delighted to have you again with us. So I would like to request Mr. Chetan Bharadwaj to kindly address, please. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tarali. I hope I'm loud and clear to everyone. There seems to be some issue. It's raining very heavy in Delhi today. So there's some issue with the network. But nevertheless, First of all, thank you so much, Rali, for inviting me to the yet another session of this series of webinars that ICC has been so wonderfully managing, organizing. And first of all, I would like to, extend my warm regards to Honorable Minister Shri Ranendra Pratap ji, Additional Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs, Nidhi Khare ma'am. We have been in touch with her office regularly. We have been disturbing her every now and then for getting updates on various issues, and she has been kind enough to give us patient hearings every time. Honorable Justice Dr. D.P. Chaudhary, and to all the other dignitaries present here today. So, this whole issue of Consumer Protection Act, consumer rights, is a very relevant one, very important one. And I think the Honorable Minister made a very exhaustive presentation on what the government of Odisha is doing in this regard. Nidhi Khare ma'am then made a very comprehensive presentation on various aspects of the Act and how the rights of the consumers are protected under the Act. So Odisha, I would like to say that it's one of those states which are probably not much in news, but silently they are doing very well. They are continuously improving their footprint on the national scale. They are making their presence felt on the national scale. As far as direct selling industry is concerned, I'm happy to share with the forum present here today. Odisha is the 5th largest direct selling market in India when it comes to the overall Indian direct selling sales. And the state has generated a business of over 910 crores, and close to 4.3 lakh people are working from the state actively as direct sellers in the industry. So Odisha alone has a share of close to 5.5% in the overall Indian direct selling sales, which is a commendable figure. Moving on to the topic, I think since we have Justice Chaudhary here with us, so sir, let me first congratulate you on the excellent website which has been developed by the Odisha State Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission. It is in fact, very interesting to see, very joyful to see one of the few states that has actually updated the provisions regarding the Consumer Protection Act 2019 on their website. Otherwise, if you look at it from the other perspective, most of the websites are still not updated and they still are mentioning the Consumer Protection Act 1986 on their websites and the provisions like this. So, commendable achievement by Odisha in terms of that. I was just quickly going through the numbers also which were available on the website. What's most impressive is the rate of disposal which the Odisha State Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission has been able to generate. So, as per the latest data, I think the State Commission has disposed nearly 87% of the cases, while the District Commission has disposed nearly 90% of all the cases. So, this is usually the other way around. It shows that the District Commissions are working hard, and that's why they are able to ease the pressure on the entire system. The pendencies are being cleared aggressively, and kudos to you, your team for that, sir. So, Bijon Mishra sir, Nidhi Khare ma'am, the Honorable Minister, Redressal sir, they all have already spoken at length about the new Consumer Protection Act and what arsenal it has provided to us actually in our fight, in support of consumerism in India. So definitely one thing is pretty clear from all the addresses that we have just listened to. The Consumer Protection Act 2019 is miles ahead from what the 86 Act was or what 86 Act tried to achieve. The 2019 Act has tried to incorporate all developments that have taken place with respect to manner, in which modern day consumer, he goes and buys goods and services. Well, I always make it a point to always say this, that while India was amongst the first few countries to realize the importance that there should be a dedicated consumer law to protect the rights of the consumers, however, we somehow missed the pace in between in terms of regularly bringing in the updates to it. So I think it took us nearly 33 years to update our core law. I mean, I always refer to the Consumer Protection Act as your core law for the economy. Consumer is the backbone of the economy, and thus any law which protects the consumer or works for the consumers should be considered as your backbone of the economy, the main core law of the economy. So while we brought this law, we were among the first few countries to bring this law, but we were really very slow in terms of updating it. If you compare it with some other economies that have grown rapidly, that started with India, but then they grow rapidly during these times, you can compare it with Singapore, for example. They have been bringing regular updates to their act. So they notified it in 2003, way after India notified its act. but then they have been making regular improvements or amendments to it after every 3-4 years. Similarly, if you look at Malaysia, they brought their act in 99, and then after every 2-3 years, they are bringing regular updates. Nevertheless, finally, the new act is here with certain new provisions, world-class features which are there in this act, and so we all look forward to a scenario where consumer no longer has to run from pillar to post to get his grievance settled. Some of the few good things which are there in the Consumer Protection Act 2019, I mean, of course, Nidhi Karim ma'am and the Honorable Minister sir has already discussed this in detail. I would probably try to give it the industry perspective to the whole issue. So first of the good things actually which we find in the act is with respect to the product liability clause. Now there is a clear distinction that has now been given between the liabilities of a product manufacturer and the product whenever it comes to the unfortunate situation of a product, failing to satisfy the expectations of a consumer. Now, one of the big problems with the old act or the old provisions was that who is actually responsible for the grievance of the consumer? Is it the manufacturer or the seller? A large time of litigation used to go waste in determining who is actually the party responsible for the loss to the consumer. Now, this will no longer be the case under the new act. The chapter 6, if I remember correctly, the product liability chapter has a clear distinction what situations the product manufacturer is going to be held responsible and in what situation the product seller is going to be held responsible. So this will clearly save a lot of time that is used to get wasted on unnecessary litigation in determining which party is actually responsible for the loss to the consumer. So this is one very good aspect in the new act. Second, unfair contracts. So one of the major improvements over the old act is the introduction of the term unfair contracts, which was not there in the previous act. Now, the difference here is that old act had provisions for unfair trade practice. Now, unfair contract was not discussed anywhere. Although later in some judgments by the Honorable Supreme Court, it was mentioned that unfair contract is anything which gives rise to unfair trade practices. But the good thing is, in the new Consumer Protection Act 2019, the State Commission and the National Commissions have been given the power to declare any terms of a contract which they believe is unfair to a consumer as null and void. And I think recently, some 3-4 months back, the Honorable Supreme Court in IRIO Realtek case was also held by Honorable Supreme Court that National Commission's power to declare any contract term as unfair is in fact derived from the power to continue fair trade practices, to discontinue unfair trade practices, which was there in the 1986 Act. So the one major improvement is, while earlier we were relying on the judgments of the Honorable Supreme Court, but yes, the new Act has brought this concept into the purview of the main Act, which is commendable. My only suggestion to the authorities, to the government agencies out there would be, if we can have clear pointers on what will constitute a contract to be unfair contract. So that will save a lot of litigation time, because see, whenever State Commission and National Commission is going to declare a contract as unfair, the opposite party is going to challenge this in the Honorable Supreme Court. So if Honorable Supreme Court can come up with pointers, or the government can come up with few pointers, a checklist, that if these criteria are met, a contract will be declared unfair contract. So this will save a lot of litigation time going forward. Moving on, another interesting provision or good provision in the new act is with respect to the district commissions, state commissions, and national commissions. Now, in my personal opinion, this is the biggest positive change that the new act has actually brought in. First, of course, a complaint can now be launched at the district where the complainant resides. This was not the case earlier. So this will save a lot of unnecessary time which the consumer, an affected consumer, is used to spend on traveling to the district headquarters, the state headquarters for lodging the complaint, or from the district where the product was purchased. Second, I think the jurisdiction of the district forums, which has been increased to rupees 1 crore for 20 lakhs. This is also going to save a lot of time for the overall system. And I believe 99% of the complaints are now going to get resolved at the district commission level itself. For example, these days, if you look at the SUVs, expensive cars, these are generally in the upwards of 20 lakhs. So consumers will be able to get these matters resolved at the district level itself, which is a very commendable thing to do. Moving on, the national commissions Earlier, they were given the power to review their orders, but now even district commission has been given the power to review its orders. In case it is observed that there is an error apparent on the face of the record, as happened by the district commission, the district commission can actually review its own order. So this will again save a lot of litigation time, as the consumer will not have to approach the state commission, let's say for example, every time for seeking a relief against an order passed by the district commission. Mediation is another important aspect which has been introduced in the new Consumer Protection Act 2019. And Bejon sir has been very vocal about the advantages of mediation as a dispute resolution mechanism. So, you see, we have to understand a consumer has already suffered a loss. He is mentally disturbed. He has financially suffered a loss. So, mediation is generally considered a fair and impartial way of settling a dispute. So, in a consumer dispute, individual consumer is usually a big retailer or a big, corporate giant. So, mediation gives him that support. Mediation gives him that, advantage, that confidence building, that you are not, alone in this fight against the grievance that you have. Mediation system is going to, grievance that is faced by you. And overall, I think the mediation will be able to help in clearing the number of cases handled by the district commissions, national commissions, state commissions to a great extent. Lastly, yes, the new Consumer Protection Act, the direct selling industry, since I represent the biggest association of the direct selling industry in India, we would like to especially thank the government authorities for including direct selling in the purview of the main act itself. Direct selling is a modern method of doing business. We are, though 25 years old in India, but still we are relatively new. We are yet to achieve our peak in India. Forget about talking about the decline phase. So, by way of incorporating direct selling in the main purview of the act, the government has sent a very positive signal to the industry, not just in India, but globally. The forum here will be very surprised to know that despite being 25 years old, industry, top, I think 15 or 20 of the top 30 companies are still not present in India. So the Consumer Protection Act has actually sent a very positive signal in this regard. And with the notification of direct selling rules, which I'm sure the department is working very aggressively, and in the next 1 or 2 months' time, we will be able to see them. Many such international companies are going to enter India and set up their own manufacturing facilities here, or probably tie up with MSME players for getting goods manufactured through contract manufacturing. So this will, apart from generating indirect, employment in terms of providing self-income opportunity to millions of people, it will also provide, thousands of direct employment by providing support to the MSME sector, to various other ancillaries. Moving on, a couple of things actually that I always, wherever I go for a discussion on Consumer Protection Act, I always make it a point to share. As I discussed in the beginning, Consumer Protection Act is our main act. It's the backbone of the economy. So, an attempt should be made to ensure that all other acts are in complete sync with the Consumer Protection Act 2019. For example, if you compare the definitions of, let's say, e-commerce entities, there's a different definition in the Consumer Protection Act and there's a different definition in the Food Safety Act. Although I'm also happy to share that we have been updated that Food Safety and Standard Authority of India has now initiated the exercise of synchronizing the definitions which are there in the Food Safety Act. For example, the definition of direct selling, the definition of e-commerce, the definition of direct sellers, the provisions in the Consumer Protection Act 2019. This is a very welcome step, and this should be followed for all other key acts which are there in force as of now. Powers to CCPA. Now, clearly, CCPA is going to be one of the most important regulatory or judiciary bodies in our country. So, any order passed by CCPA, it can only be challenged in the National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, and an appeal against National Commission can only be challenged in the Honorable Supreme Court. So, if you look at it from that way,
I think there is some connectivity issue with Mr. Chetan Bharadwaj.
That we feel should be there, or rather, a personal level feel should be there. The CCPA is that CCPA should have been given the power to order a temporary, sort of inquiry against a particular company by respective or different state police authorities for the time the investigation is pending with CCPA. You see, it doesn't make sense if the same complaint is investigated by CCPA and at the same time, let's say the police authority from state X, from state Y, from state Z, they are also investigating. So a company, you can either expect them to go and present their case before CCPA. That would be better, in fact. That would save a lot of time and that would ensure justice, speedy justice as well. So this suggestion we have been, I have been looking to the authorities for a long time, and I remember, when Honorable Minister Ramdas Paswanji held a meeting on CCPA. So at that time also this suggestion was given and it was well appreciated. So my sincere request would be to again, if this issue or this aspect can be looked upon. Finally, my concluding comments would be, the new Consumer Protection Act. Let's all hope that it avoids a situation which we have seen in the famous of Wheel Words Pradeep Purana, where the manufacturer felt it was not their liability because of the fault in the Montana car. The car was delivered after 4 years. The Himachal Pradesh State Commission passed an order in '97 after 5 years. The Wheel Words claim that they have received the order copy till 2002, and finally, I think after 2005, the matter got resolved. So let's all hope the provisions of the new Consumer Protection Act 2019, like the e-filing, the district commissions, the facility to lodge a complaint at the district where the consumer resides, are able to ensure that we are not faced with any such problem in future, where a consumer who has already faced financial issues or already faced financial loss goes into facing a mental trauma as well. So with this, I would like to conclude my address. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. And thank you once again to ICC for organizing this wonderful session.
We would like to thank Mr. Chetan Bharadwaj for this informative address and also for sharing your valuable recommendations and a perspective from the Indian Direct Selling Association. So thank you once again, Mr. Chetan Bharadwaj. So with this, we are proceeding towards the end of today's webinar. But before that, we have the question and answer session. So for that, I would like to request all our delegates, if you have any question, kindly unmute yourself and kindly ask your question. And I would like to request our ICC IT team to help our delegates so that they can unmute themselves. And before that, we have already got one question. It is from Mr. Samir Borua. So the question is, what about complaint against banks? So will there be any overlapping with the authority of ombudsman? So this is his question. So if we, his question, I'll just repeat his question once again. What about the complaints against bank? So if there is any bank related issues, so will it be overlapping with the authority of ombudsman? So this is the question. So I would like to request our esteemed speakers to kindly answer the question of Mr. Samir Barwa.
Can I come in?
Yes,
sir, why don't you
yeah, you see, I would like to tell your participant that Consumer Protection Act runs in parallel and concurrent with the existing laws. So it doesn't debar a consumer to complain against the banking system or the bank to the Central Consumer Protection Authority, whereas the ombudsman, the regulatory role in the financial sector is played by Reserve Bank of India. So Reserve Bank of India also handles complaints against the banking sector or any kind of a banking related issues. So you can approach Reserve Bank of India, and of course you also have the opportunity to approach the bank first. And then if the bank doesn't resolve your problem, then you can go to the banking ombudsman, because there is an ombudsman also appointed by Reserve Bank of India to handle complaints of the banks if you are not happy with the resolution from the bank. So you have multiple opportunities in terms of first the bank, then the ombudsman, then Reserve Bank of India, but you can also approach CCPA and register your complaint to get the resolution. So yeah, of course, the consumer helpline is also there, which Nidhi Khareji has already shared the mobile number, the SMS and the helpline numbers, and also the website. So you have multiple options. And if you are in the remotest area of the country where you would like to make a complaint and you don't know how to handle yourself, फिर आप CSC में भी जा सकते हैं, जो आपके घर के नजदीक में होते हैं, which are physical centers, जहां पर आप जाकर शिकायत दर्ज कर सकते हैं. तो कई स्वयंसेवी संस्थाएं हैं जो आपको मदद कर सकता है. तो कई opportunities हैं. I hope I have been able to give the response to the question which was asked by your participant.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other question from the delegates end? Okay, we are waiting for the rest of the questions. Till then, yes, Mr. Samir Barua, he has replied. He is satisfied with the answer. He got his answer for his query. So I actually, yes, Mr. Rajat Banerjee, he would like to ask something.
Yeah, Charlie, when I spoke, I'm afraid I missed out our appreciation to ICC to you and Mr. Ishantar. So my apologies, I missed out, and I just want to make up for that. ICC has been a great support to us and giving us to these webinars to many states. I just wanted to acknowledge that. Sorry.
Thank you so much. Okay, so till the time we get another question, any other question from the delegates? And
I just want to tell that as Nidhi Khareji is also present with us today, and ICC is taking up this kind of a great work to work with the state governments. I would request that we should have regular dialogue with various state governments, especially the departments which looks after consumer affairs at the state level with their nodal officers, so that we can create some kind of a platform where we can see the states being more proactive on consumer protection than what they are today. So I would like to understand how we can proceed on that, and how Nidhi Khareji expects states to respond in terms of the support which the central government is providing to the state governments, because I know many of the state governments have been given the resources, but they're not utilizing it for the purpose which has been given. So how we can help them, how we can build their capacity, how we can ensure that the state governments, kind of immediately respond to the needs of consumer protection, which indirectly will help the industry to grow. So I am just looking at those kind of opportunities where we can interact. And I would plead to ICC that please continue this kind of a conversation with the state governments and come out with a very comprehensive report, which you can submit to the central government on behalf of ICC and IDSA and others who are supporting this kind of initiative.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much for your kind recommendations. We will definitely go ahead with that, sir. So, yes, sir, we have got one more question from one of our delegate. Yeah, Lakshmi Narayan Patel. So he has written that he has purchased an iPhone with a warranty, and he's found some problem, but no service center on my district, only one service center in Odisha, that is Bhubaneswar. So which is distance, which is far away from his place. So it is around 300 kilometers. So what can I do? That is his question. So he purchased the iPhone and he got the warranty, but now he is facing some problem. So no service center is there nearby. So that is his concern.
So my only suggestion is, when you buy a product, these are the information which you should see. Because if you buy a product where you don't have a service center near to your place, at the time of purchase, you must look into these issues, because why promote a product which does not give you service? And I'm very happy that he has made that public, and I think he should approach, the National Consumer Helpline and lodge his complaint and ensure that the service center goes to his doorstep rather than he moving to Bhubaneswar to get the service at the doorstep of the service provider. So the service provider should come to the doorstep of the consumer. And in my view, the state government would take this up also appropriately. And as I told you, that we will take up a policy within government of Orissa that the service reaches your doorstep rather than the consumer reaching the doorstep of the service provider. So we'll try to work on that.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. So I think there is no more question. Actually, I also have a question. So maybe Madam Nidhi Khare or Bijan Mishra sir. So both of you maybe help me out to get the resolution. So my problem is like there was a fraudulent transaction in my bank account. It is around 1 month back. So there was a fraudulent transaction of rupees 10,000, and immediately what I did, I informed the cybercrime department, and they did the needful immediately. They instructed the bank to hold the amount. So after that, from that portal, cybercrime portal, and from the Ministry of Home Affairs, I got a message that the amount is on hold in Bank of Maharashtra. So I need to contact the respective branch of my bank account. So I had the account in ICICI Bank. So I contacted the branch of ICICI. So when I contacted ICICI, they simply, have given a letter to me that Bank of Maharashtra is now asking for the court order so that they can release the amount. So what should be the way forward now? So that is my question.
So if Madam Nidhi Khare wants to respond, or I can respond. Okay.
My question is to both of you, sir.
Okay. Let me resolve it for you. The very first important thing is you said you have a communication from the cybercrime people where you have been told that the amount is stuck with the bank of Maharashtra, which needs to be reversed. So you must represent before the ombudsman of the bank that why is this amount not being reversed and what is that court order they're talking about. So maybe the ombudsman's online resolution would provide you that order which the bank is looking for. Maybe that is one part of it. The second part of it is you must write to Reserve Bank of India. They have kind of a link in terms of encouraging consumer complaints. There again, you should bring it to their knowledge that they're insisting on a court order, and for getting this amount, I might have to spend 20 times more money to get that court order and wait for maybe a very long time. So why don't you request the bank to release my money and bring it back to my bank so that there is an authenticity in terms of the reversal. So you can write in that manner and request RBI to intervene in this matter as a policy so that it becomes a policy for all the banks to follow in future and not wait for a court order, because the bank manager must be following the books, which is talking about a court order, which instruction or a regulation at that point of time when we didn't have these kind of resolutions. So you can approach the ombudsman, you can approach the Reserve Bank of India and get this reversal done in terms of the policy. And of course, you can write to the Consumer Affairs Ministry also, where they can also write to Reserve Bank of India and bring this kind of an example to change the policies of the banks, not to insist on court orders, but to insist on documents which would give credibility to this reversal which will happen in your favor as a consumer.
Correct. So I have already approached the Reserve Bank of India and Banking Ombudsman. I have already raised the complaint in their online portal. So I'm yet to receive their revert on that. So hopefully I'll be receiving that, and I will take your suggestions. Like if I do not get the proper resolution, definitely the next step I need to follow. Thank you so much for your suggestions.
I'm awake.
Yes.
You can always also refer it to me. So
surely, sir.
I will also take it up on your behalf as a consumer organization working on behalf of consumers like you. So we are also ready to help you. So nothing to worry about. Keep us in the loop. We are awake.
Sure.
We work 24/7.
Surely, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for your support. So I think we have got one more question. Yes. So there is a question that can someone shed some more light on the draft direct selling rules 2021? How are they different from the guidelines which came out in 2016? So this is the question. So the new direct selling guidelines of 2021, how is different from the rules that came into in 2016? So this is the question.
Well, I'll just touch upon one point. While the guidelines did not elaborate on registration of direct selling companies, direct selling entities, I think the direct selling rules has a provision for direct selling entities to be registered with the DPIT. But fact remains that look, it's just a draft right now, so nothing is firm. I think like IDSA has sent in comments, many associations have sent in. So I think there will be some changes, and there need to be some changes. There has to be an improvement for sure. But I think that discussion with the Ministry of Consumer Affairs is still on. Chetan, would you like to add anything to that?
So, I think the information that is available, there is some update from the department that can come. However, yes, the department has received a lot of comments and other things. This is what has been told to us, and we are very hopeful. Trali, I'm sorry, I missed the name of the person who has asked the question.
Actually, he also did not mention his name.
Okay,
so,
okay.
Yes.
Right. So I believe the things are going pretty smooth at the department level, and as Rajat sir also said, there are several improvements over the guidelines which are there in the draft rules, which were made public a couple of months back for us to submit our comments. IDSA has already submitted the comments. Largely, the drafts are looking, completely okay, completely in line with the developments around the world and of course in India. There were few areas where some minor adjustments were required, and for which we already submitted the suggestions, and we look forward to having a detailed discussion on all such points during the next stakeholders meeting whenever the department is going to organize it.
Thank you so much. I think there is no more question.
I just want to come in and say a few things, for the benefit of your listeners. I'll just take 2 minutes. I said 1996, but actually the Department of Consumer Affairs came into existence in June of 1997. And what I want to tell you is the department is supposed to be looking into the following activities: implementation of the Consumer Protection Act of 2019, implementation of Bureau of Indian Standards Act 2016, implementation of standards of weights and measures, Legal Metrological Act 2009, regulation of packaged commodities, the Essential Commodities Act, prevention of black marketing and maintenance of supply of essential commodities, monitoring of prices and availability of essential commodities, direct selling, training in legal metrology, the Emblems and Names Prevention and Improper Use Act, laying down specification standards and codes and ensuring quality control of biofuels for end users, consumer cooperatives, National Test House. Now, these are some of the responsibility of the Department of Consumer Affairs. I wanted to share this with the listeners, the participants, and also the panel members, because all this encompasses in terms of trade. And the direct sellers should know also that these are some of the laws which the Department of Consumer Affairs is monitoring and controlling. So if you have any kind of an issue on these kind of matters, you must take it up with the Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, in the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Civil Supplies. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to give this intervention, because I wanted to share this with all of you today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much once again. So with this, we are proceeding towards the end of today's webinar because I think there is, we have got one more question. I think this is the last question. Okay, the same person who has asked the last question about direct selling, he is asking one more question. Does the Consumer Protection Act 2019 have retrospective effect? Will it matters instituted before the Consumer Protection Act 2019 was notified and will also be governed by this act? So this is his question. I'll just repeat the question once again. The question is, does the Consumer Protection Act 2019 have retrospective effect? Will the matters instituted before the Consumer Protection Act 2019 was notified will also be governed by this act? So,
Chetan, you want to take it?
Sir, I think as far as my understanding goes, I think the last paragraph of the Consumer Protection 2019, although it says that this act repeals the previous act of 1986, but I think any orders passed under the previous act or any ongoing litigations under the old act continue to hold under the provisions of the new act also. So yes, in that sense, it is going to be retrospective in nature, although the old act has been repealed by the new one, but all the matters which are there continuing under the purview of the old act will be considered to have been still valid.
okay, thank you so much. So with this, we are going to the end of this, proceeding towards the end of today's session. So I would like to thank all our esteemed speakers of today's program. You have managed your valuable time. You have shared your valuable inputs to make this discussion a fruitful one. So first of all, I would like to thank our chief guest, Honorable Minister, Food Supplies and Consumer Welfare Department, Government of Orissa, Sri Ranendra Pratap Swain. So he has managed his valuable time for us. He shared his valuable inputs and recommendations. So we are very much delighted and thank you on behalf of Indian Chamber of Commerce. Thank you once again, sir, for being with us in today's webinar. We would like to thank Ms. Nidhi Khare, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India, and the Chief Commissioner. So Nidhi Khare madam also managed her time. Thank you once again, ma'am, for your comprehensive and informative presentation, a detailed presentation on the Consumer Protection Act guidelines. Thank you once again on behalf of Indian Chamber of Commerce. We would like to thank Honorable Justice Dr. D.P. Chaudhary, President, Orissa State Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission, for participating in this webinar and sharing your valuable inputs. Thank you once again, sir. We would like to thank Professor Bijan Kumar Mishra, sir, for continuous support towards this program. You have been associated with us in all the series of webinars. You are sharing your valuable inputs, your valuable recommendations, and your continuous support. So thank you once again, sir, for being with us. We would like to thank Mr. Chetan Bharadwaj, General Manager, Indian Direct Selling Association, for your continuous support. You have been associated with us for the series of webinars that we have conducted. And special thanks to Mr. Rajat Banerjee, Vice President Corporate Affairs, MV India Enterprises Private Limited, and the Vice Chairman, Indian Direct Selling Association, for being with us and your continuous support. Thanks to Mr. Sandeep Mukherjee, and thanks to MV India Enterprises Private Limited for supporting us in conducting this series of webinars for all the states of Eastern India and the Northeast India. So thank you so much once again to MV India Enterprises for your support. I would like to thank all our esteemed delegates for your participation, for asking questions, for participating in this webinar, for making the webinar interactive one, a fruitful one. So thanks to all the delegates present over here. I would like to thank all the media personnel for your support. And I would like to thank all my ICC colleagues and ICC IT team for helping us in conducting this webinar and making it is a successful one. Last but not the least, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your cooperation, for your support, and for your participation. So on behalf of Indian Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank every one of you for participating in this webinar and making this webinar a successful one. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you, sir. We may leave now. Thank you, sir.